All right, today we're going to pull back the curtain on something you definitely remember from school: spelling, punctuation, and grammar. You've probably heard it called SPaG, but I guarantee you how it's taught today is a whole different ballgame. Just think back for a second. When you hear the words grammar class, what pops into your head? For a lot of us, it conjures up some pretty specific feelings, right? Yeah, you're probably picturing those endless worksheets, trying to memorize a bunch of rules you didn't really understand. Or maybe, just maybe, you remember diagramming sentences until they looked like some kind of complex blueprint. It always felt so rigid, didn't it? Well, you'll be happy to know things have really changed. The whole point of the English curriculum now isn't just to churn out kids who can spot a verb. No, the mission is so much bigger than that. It's all about building a writer's toolbox. I want you to hold on to that image. Every single piece of grammar, every comma and full stop is treated like a special tool that a young writer can use to build amazing things with their words. So what is this new mission for grammar? Well, it's a huge shift from just getting the right answer to learning the skill of really powerful, effective communication. If you look at the official curriculum, the goals are pretty inspiring. It's about helping kids speak and write with real fluency, not just correctness. It's about giving them the power to communicate big ideas and feelings, to actually fall in love with reading. And this is the key part, to use grammar intentionally to create specific effects on the person reading their work. It's all one big connected system. Okay, so let's crack open this toolkit and see what kinds of tools we're actually talking about here. You might be surprised at how sophisticated they are. So, in Year 5, kids get introduced to modal verbs. But here's the thing. It's not about just memorizing a list of words like might, should, will, must. The focus is entirely on their function. What do these little words actually do? And you see the power of these tools almost immediately. I mean, the difference between you could complete the task and you must complete the task is massive, right? One is just a possibility, the other is an absolute command. This is how kids start to realize that changing just one single word can change the whole feeling of what they're writing. It's about control. And it's the exact same story with punctuation. It's taught less as a list of do this, don't do that rules, and more as a crucial tool for making sure your reader knows exactly what you're trying to say. And this is, of course, the perfect example. Let's eat grandma versus let's eat grandma. A tiny little comma is the only thing standing between a nice family meal and, well, a horror movie. That comma isn't just a rule, it's a tool for, not being a cannibal. And the pace really picks up. The leap from what's expected in Year 5 to Year 6 is huge. They go from those modal verbs to really abstract ideas like the passive voice, and from using commas for clarity to wielding semicolons, colons, and hyphens. The passive voice is a really big one in Year 6. At its core, it's just a way of structuring a sentence so the focus is on the thing that received the action, not the person or thing that did it. So look at this side by side. In the active voice, Tom dropped the glass. All eyes are on Tom. He's the star of the show. But in the passive voice, the glass was dropped. The spotlight swings over to the glass. Tom might not even be in the sentence anymore. This is a powerful tool. Kids learn its use in science reports to sound objective, or in news stories when you don't know who did something. So kids are building this amazing writer's toolbox. They're learning how to make these really clever, subtle choices with their words. But then, at the end of Year 6, everything gets turned on its head. They have to take the Key Stage 2 SPaG test. It's a national exam with really high stakes. And just look at this breakdown. Almost half the entire test is on grammar, and it's often tested with multiple choice questions, totally removed from the actual process of writing something. And it is an absolute pressure cooker. This first paper gives them just 45 minutes to get through 50 marks worth of questions. Suddenly, the focus isn't on using your tools to build something cool, it's just about identifying the tools as fast as you can. And this is where we run into a massive problem, what education experts call the assessment paradox. We have this huge gap between what the test measures and what we actually want kids to be able to do, which is write well. Which, of course, leads us to the million-dollar question. Does all this focus on passing the test actually make kids better writers in the long run? Well, the research on this is not just clear, it's overwhelming. Decades of studies have shown that decontextualized grammar teaching, that's a fancy term for all the worksheets and drills you do just to pass a test, has pretty much zero positive effect on how well a student actually writes. In fact, some research suggests it can even make their writing worse because it makes them scared to experiment. The official term for this is the negative backwash effect. The test, which is supposed to be a tool to improve standards, ends up forcing teachers to use methods that are known to not work. It's the definition of the tail wagging the dog. So if drilling for the test doesn't actually work, what does? Well, thankfully, all that research doesn't just point out the problem, it gives us a really clear solution. The best way to teach grammar is to see it in the wild. It's a really simple but powerful cycle. First, kids just read great books. Then they go back and act like detectives. They ask questions. Why did the author use that word here? What feeling does that semicolon create? And then the most important step, they go and try it out themselves. They apply those tools in their own writing. And that leaves us with one final, really important question to think about. What matters more, being able to name every tool in the toolbox or being able to actually use those tools to build something new, something powerful, something that's uniquely yours? Because that's the real difference between just knowing the rules and truly knowing how to write.